There are instances at the meeting where the school district is just stating that from the testing, from the teacher report, from the therapist's, reviews, annual reviews, that your child just does not qualify for these services anymore. Um, Sometimes when the standardized testing shows certain numbers, it is hard then to advocate or fight for your child, right? The word, by the way, is advocate. I was taught a very long time ago not to use the word fight. You're an advocate, right? And so if you have a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old or a 10-year-old or even a 26-year-old like I do, we're advocating. We're always advocating for what's best for them. So sometimes the district will just not agree with what you're asking for. And at those times, it's sometimes time to say, I need additional help. So, one thing you can do is reach back out to CBTF, to the Education Advocacy Department. They have, tons and tons of resources and information. They can give you information on the laws in the state that you live in and really connect you maybe with some educational advocates that might be able to help. Sometimes you can, find out that every state has different laws and your state might say XYZ. Just because your child might not be qualifying that school year or that month, that doesn't mean that they're never going to get those services again. And I always made it a point every single September when school started to go back in, to meet with the team. I always said, can we have a meeting with the nurse, the phys ed teacher, the classroom teacher? If it was a special ed classroom, the aide in the classroom. Anyone who is the school psychologist, very important because they're the ones doing the testing. But I always felt that it was important for them to learn about Kyle and for them to also know that I was watching and that I was an involved parent. They used to say, you're always here with a smile, but you're always here. And so there's nothing wrong with asking for that. I would ask the principal at the beginning of the year, within the first few weeks of school, I'd like to just have a sit down with the team. When Kyle went to middle school, we had every single subject teacher come to that meeting. And do you know that every single teacher and school psychologist said to me, thank you so much for this? you know, I said things like, if Kyle says his head hurts, he's not the kid you're going to say, sit down and see how you feel in 10 minutes. You're going to say, go to the nurse because the nurse knows, everything about my kid. And so they just, Kyle's going to act like he knows the new math lesson, but guess what? He doesn't know the new math lesson. And so it's kind of a chance for you to explain about your child. Um, the old school of, oh my gosh, I don't want my kid in special ed because then everyone's going to know he has a learning disability or he has XYZ. If your child's coming back to school with a brain tumor diagnosis, everybody already knows about your kid. So, again, this is the special educator in me, but more than that, it's the parent in me. The most services you can get your child to help them thrive in the classroom is the best service that you can give your child. So sometimes the committee may not go in your favor, but that's when you reach back out and you find out maybe what the next step is. There are educational advocates that can go to a meeting with you. There are lawyers, educational lawyers you can take to a meeting if needed. Hopefully, you won't have to get to that degree, but we don't want it to be a fight. We want it to be, that we're all on the same team helping our children succeed.